welcome again to the Executive Room podcast, where we delve deep into the lives of remarkable executives who have shaped the world in their careers and actions. I'm your host, Kimberly Afonso, CEO and founder of the KA Consulting Group, where we are experts in CEO visibility, and today we have Mark Walker with us. Mark Walker is a serial entrepreneur with over 30 years of experience building and scaling SaaS, CRM, and ERP businesses. He currently serves as CEO of Nue, a Toronto-based company modernizing quote-to-cash and revenue lifecycle management for B2B organizations. Under his leadership, Nue.io recently raised $20 million in Series A to empower operations teams and streamline revenue processes across omnichannel and hybrid business models. Before Nue, Mark was CEO of StrongPoint, an automated documentation, change management, and compliance software company acquired by Netrix. He also served as COO of Scribble Technologies and held senior leadership roles at SkyTech, Elevation 9, and Blanketware Corporation, helping enterprises increase efficiency, integrate systems, and scale effectively. So Mark is known for his focus on clarity, execution, and empowering teams to drive growth through operational excellence, and he also holds an LLB in intellectual property. So a lot of great experience. So let's get started. I love all of the different things I've read about your career, Mark. And you're starting something now with Nue that seems really exciting. So I'd love for you to share a little bit about your career journey. What has really connected all of these experiences? Has there been a common thread? You've been from law to SaaS. And how much of a role did things like luck, circumstances, and timing play in where you are and your different timelines of changing careers over time?
Wow, that's a big question. And thanks for having me on, Kimberly. Um, so I think I'd be very lucky, an incredibly lucky person. And I'm very lucky to be the CEO of Nue. I didn't create Nue. Nue was created by an incredible woman named Tina Kung, and I was offered the opportunity to be a CEO again. My first reaction was frankly, no, I just want to go kiteboarding. Strong Point was a great company, and I want to take some time off, but and my second reaction was, sorry, there's nothing a talented woman needs less than, a guy telling her what to do. But then Tina asked me, and that was totally different, right? And I count myself incredibly lucky that I had built the relationships where people were able to identify me as potentially a great match for Tina. I think the thing that runs through my career is curiosity. In fact, of course, there's thematic things that you recognize. So if I hadn't done the work at Blanketware, I wouldn't have been able to build StrongPoint. And I hadn't done the work at SkyTech, I probably wouldn't be able to build StrongPoint either. Um, Even though those things are linked in completely different ways. Scribble, completely different thing. It was amazing to plunge into the world of real-time news publishing and get to meet Associated Press and Reuters and Al Jazeera and go into that crazy world. I ended up in Russia doing stuff with that, and it was crazy. But I think we build on things, and if you're a curious person and you're really interested in what other people are doing, then you run into things that you never would have planned for or expected.
And I loved one quote that I've heard you say, and that you've said it's never about the money, it's always about the art and the people. And I'd love to hear a little bit more about that. Is that like a central mindset to your career? How has that played a role in the projects you've been building over all of these years?
Yeah, I've always felt that way. And I've been fortunate enough to be successful enough that it's definitely no longer about the money. But and maybe there are people who would have, who would still be focused on the money. The money is how we keep score, right? But you don't start, like, what we do is too hard to do it for money. Like if you want to like make money, um, there, well, actually, it can be incredibly lucrative. There's not many ways that are easier to make the kind of money that you can make in tech, but it's so hard, and it's such a personal cost to work at the pace and the um and the risk levels that we work at, that if you didn't love it, you shouldn't do it. So we literally say that new, say, this is too hard not to love it, right? So if you're not having fun, if you don't like the people you work with, if you don't really love coming to work here, you should probably leave. And I think we only had one person or two people leave after having that conversation. We're like, you're not having fun. You should probably go. But I think the other thing I like to say is that complaining about the stress of what we do is like complaining about the snow at the top of Mount Everest. Like, you knew it was there, right? You worked really hard to get there, and you literally stepped over bodies, right, to get in that situation. So don't complain about it. It's like complaining about the stress of being an elite athlete. Like, yeah, yes, it's going to be stressful, but it's also incredibly enjoyable. And I was just in a team meeting and just marveling with the opportunity in front of us at the quality of the people I have to work with. Blows my mind.
That's incredible. And I think that says a lot to your leadership style. So, how would you put it in your words? How would you describe your leadership style and what has really worked for you? You know, you have a track record of building really successful teams, and you've said it yourself. Tech can be highly lucrative, but it's also extremely high risk. So, tell us a little bit about that, your leadership style and what has really helped you lead teams to success.
It's changed over time. I think initially when you do your first, well, I was a federal court litigator. So it's not like not the most easygoing persona that you might run into. You know, like litigation is a knife fight among polite people, right? And there's no sort of like you did a good job, but if that's okay. It's like no, you have to win. Like it's only about winning, right? When you first start to run your first company and you bring that mentality to it and that level of commitment, but also that mentality, that can break people. And certainly, there was a point in actually not in the first company, but actually in Strong Point where a really great guy, my co-founder of that company, Yasa Vijita, took me aside and said, "Look, you're you're more aggressive than everybody. You're smarter than most people, um, and you are going to destroy all the talent on your team if you keep pushing them this hard." And so he he shared a book that I still value, Multipliers by Liz Wiseman, which basically talks about how to be a leader that actually is additive to the other people. And so I really work hard to do that. I kept that book on my bedside table for the entire rest of the duration of Strong Point, and most of those people are still my friends. So I guess we managed to do that well. But I really try to basically say to people, no, you come up with the answer. You come up with the answer. I'll ask the questions. You come up with the answers with occasional, no, we're not doing that. Like I'm not that of a pushover, but it's mostly asking the right questions and frankly, radically trusting your team in ways that sometimes scares is kind of scary.
And has that come natural to you? You know, we've had many CEOs on the show, and trust has always been a theme that I've heard in many, many episodes with leadership style. At the same time, when it's your company or when you're running it, it's not always something easy to do. Has anything helped you foster trust, or is that just something that always came natural to you to trust your people?
I think I learned a lot from my parents. And my dad used to say something, if you want to be trusted, be trustworthy. Or if you want people to be trustworthy, be trustworthy yourself, I guess is the way you'd say it. And if you want to be respected, be respectful, right? And so it's part of my personality in that way. I fundamentally don't believe that I could ask anybody to do something that I wouldn't, not that I'm going to do because I'm the CEO, I don't have their job, but with a level of commitment that I don't have, right? So I think that's part of it. It's just sort of if if you want great partners, be a great partner. If you want a great spouse, be a great spouse. Like it's like I think it's pretty simple. You want great friends, be a great friend. Like it's not that hard, right? And so what really gets with the part where it really gets stressful and hard is when things go badly, and you have to then just understand that if you want to be respectful, be respectful becomes the most important thing with customers, with your team. What we do is really hard. We saw AWS had an outage. If they can have an outage, everybody could make a mistake, and you have to understand that. So I talk to my teams all the time about bad things are going to happen at our speed. Bad things are going to happen. Don't worry, I understand. I don't like it. I don't necessarily I won't necessarily try to foster it, but we try to not have it happen, but eventually something bad will happen, and that's okay.
That's such a great way of putting it. And I love how you shared it in a really simple way. Just like, kind of golden rule, like be the way that you want others to act, treat people the way you want to be treated. So that's a really, really great insight. And I'd love to talk now. You're in a super fast paced industry, things are changing all of the time. You've spoken recently about how a 3-year strategic plan is nonsense today and that leaders need to think in 6-month cycles. I thought this was, a really provocative take. Tell us more about that. When did you first realize this from your, point of view, and how has this affected your business?
So New has a very privileged position in the industry. Essentially, everybody that you can think of, maybe not everybody, but almost everybody you can think of in AI runs our software, right? So the well-known ones are OpenAI and Anthropic, but also Glean and Jasper and Legora and Cursor and Sierra. They're either actually already running our software in the process of running our software. And so as an enterprise software company, you get to watch how those companies behave. And it is radically different from what you've ever seen before, right? Um, OpenAI kind of famously runs on 3-week sprints, right? Like 3 weeks. At 3 weeks, execute for 3 weeks, reevaluate what you're doing, execute 3 weeks, reevaluate what you're doing. It's not that there aren't big themes. Of course there are. They're building the future. There's massive themes, but their execution pace and their willingness to reevaluate what they're doing and why they're doing it and who they're doing it with and how they're structured is incredible. And so we're seeing that in our AI companies. But also, if you think about it, that pace of change is bleeding into everything else that everybody else has to do. So if you think you know what the proper pricing model for your business should be in 3 years, you should stop running your business and you should start making technology bets in tech because that'll be way more lucrative than almost any business you could do. Now, obviously not if you don't have any capital, but it's I think that people look out and they think, well, I'm going to run this business and it's going to be the same as it was before. Well, no, not if all of a sudden somebody introduces um, either an AI-based feature or manage to build a tighter focused solution to somebody's problem by using AI-based coding techniques to build it very, very quickly, you could be at serious threat. And so, for example, I'd say if you're in a consulting business and you think that your business in the next 3 years is going to look like your business in the last 3 years, you're on crack. Like that is definitely not going to happen. Now the question is how is it going to change? And I think what I meant about the 6 month was not that you should actually have a 6-month business plan. It's that you should be examining your business plan and the assumptions in it at the slowest on 6-month cycles. I would say more likely on the 3-month cycle or even faster because of the pace of change and the pace of change.
And what advice would you give to other CEOs? Is there something that you're seeing? Would you apply this across any industry? Would you apply this just in tech? It's a really big it's a really big shift that we're seeing. What would you like other CEOs to take away from that? And are you seeing something that you really feel like other CEOs, other business leaders are just still not waking up to yet?
Um, no, I don't think I'm necessarily seeing things that other people aren't waking up to. I think most of the business leaders I talk to are waking that like not a lot of people get to be CEOs without having a lot of vision, a lot of aggression, a lot of drive, and a lot of creativity, right? And so, but you can imagine different industries where this would be less relevant. Like if you make steel, probably not going to change that much. I mean, tariffs aside, right? Like probably not going to change very much. And you can imagine that the life insurance underwriting business, like the actual life insurance companies, probably not that much, right? But after that, after that, you have to start really thinking about it. So I had an opportunity to talk to a very, very senior executive. I can't say who it is. And just have a virtual coffee. Like basically, one of the highest placed AI executives. And I asked him, what industry does he think is in severe trouble? And he said, aerospace. And I said, why? And he said, because we only build massive planes because there's a shortage of pilots and air traffic controllers. But with AI, if you don't need either a pilot or an air traffic controller, then you could have an infinite number of planes, right? And he goes, that's going to radically, all of a sudden people are going to go, sure, I need big tubes to go across the Atlantic, but maybe not. Maybe I don't go from New York to California in one hop anymore. I just go bloop, 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 bloop across the country, having productive meetings the whole way, right? And he said that could radically change where those billions and billions of dollars are going in like a heartbeat, and the entire infrastructure of air travel at the same time, right? And that was so much unexpected of an answer that made me rethink everything. Because I that wouldn't be my answer at all, being consulting, right? His answer was aerospace. And I thought that was really interesting.
Oh, that is a great one. And I wouldn't have ever thought about that as well. So I'd love to hear a little bit more as well. How do you stay optimistic without losing sight of reality when the pace of disruption is so extreme?
Well, I mean, it's kind of easy in my case because our company's fired out of a cannon. So being optimistic when you all of a sudden realize that you're getting to work with some of the most exciting companies in the world. In fact, all our customers are, the people who, I always say, you know, that's the first people to buy the first versions of enterprise software. They're either people doing incredibly innovative things or people who want to do incredibly innovative things. So is that, and so we get to work with all these companies that are inventing the future. And that's not just the AI companies, that's all the other companies, the services companies and the software companies and the other companies that are really rethinking how things should be done. And when you get to be around, actually, here's a little story that made me super optimistic about the world, right? I was talking to a CEO of a major consulting firm, and they're tooling up to implement New. And I said to him, what's your biggest problem? Like how, my thing, if I want to have a great partner, be a great partner. I said, what's the most important thing to you right now? And he said, understanding what's going to happen to my people when the AI change in what we do happens, because I'm very, very concerned that there may not be a role for some of them, and that's what keeps me up awake at night. And I was so moved by that. That's a very human response. And his biggest concern wasn't about his profit margins. It wasn't about his company's, because he knew that would be fine. In fact, the productivity gain would actually be good for him, right? He was worried about the people. And I said, that humanism is what gives me optimism about the future. In fact, even telling the story, it moves me. It was like, it was such, again, an unexpected answer from somebody you'd expect to be brass nailed, you know, driven, and he is, but not exactly in the same way.
Incredible. He cares about his people. And I think that
Mhm.
shows that, we have good people in a lot of good places. So that'll help with this change as well. And I'd love to hear a little bit more about the AI tool you recently launched. So you recently launched New AI, which is your context aware AI tool for revenue operations. Could you tell us a little bit more about it? I know you already mentioned some cases of who is working with it, but tell us more about that. Who else works with it? How do you personally think about this tool as a driver of change?
So, again, we're very lucky. We got to have our design partners, OpenAI and Anthropic, right? And so It's also very stressful to present your, it's like, bringing your little baby and showing it to, I don't know, very judgmental grandparents or something. But it was like, they weren't at all. I mean, they're to a person, the people we work with there are generous of spirit. They're they are there for the mission, and the mission is making the world massively more productive to drive an era of abundance. And yes, there's a risk of disruption, and they're aware of that. But but they have this generally collegial attitude to helping, really wanting to deliver good solutions, but they also want to deliver good solutions for themselves, right? So one of the things about new AI is, really runs across our entire platform, and it really basically it's context aware AI. So if you ever talk to, a generic GPT or, generative AI, and you ask a question about revenue operations, it may know a lot about revenue operations generally, but it wouldn't know anything about you specifically. um, News AI knows specifically exactly how all the pricing is constructed, how all the discounts are constructed, how all the changes that are allowed, all the permission levels of all the people, all of that. So it actually functions like a really, really powerful order desk for the company. So, if somebody could, news already beautiful and easy to use, but now it's now there's no enablement problem. Like, if somebody's never done it before, they can literally just talk to it and say, "Hey, I want to." The customer wants to swap out this product for this product, and then I want to offer them a 3-year deal, ramping at 5%. They don't even have to know, even if that was a complete question. If it's not a complete question, then New will turn around and go, "Sorry, did you want an order for that? Like, in other words, I'm actually just going to commit that change, or do you just want a quote for it that you get approved by the customer?" But if they're an AE and they don't have the power to generate an order, it won't ask that question. It'll go, "No, you don't have the power to do that. I'm actually just going to offer you the quote." And it understands a lot more than that. So this is really the power of agentic, is that the new agentic solutions will be context aware. The other big transformative part of this is that means another system can talk to New without having any idea how New works. Another system can say, "Hey, could you spin up this, quote or whatever, and send it back to me in this JSON format?" And has no idea, like, there's no integration, field matching anymore. It just says, "Can you do this?" And if the AI can't do it, it'll just say no. Right? Like, it's kind of wild, right? So we're really excited about it.
That's really really cool. And if there was one customer who you would love to know about this, who may be listening, a CEO, a founder, what who would it be? What industry? Who doesn't know about this already?
Um, in terms of a particular customer, let me think of this, a particular customer. Look, I don't really think that I think there's, what's a Picasso saying? Bad artists borrow, great artists steal. I think that we're all learning from each other. Like, in other words, I think that, I mean, it's not that I have no shortage of companies that I would love to talk to about leveraging New. Um, I'd like to find out a way we could help basically everybody. But in terms of this, I think we are uniquely better in the sense that we have a really, really beautiful data model, and we built this for agentic from the beginning, and therefore it's really easy to be really good at it. But I think we learned from other people will learn from us, and this is part of what makes humans special, and causes technology to go really quickly. So there's no particular person where I think that what we've done they should copy. It's like I'm super interested in what everybody else is doing too, and I understand that building enterprise software is hard, and I learn from my competitors all the time.
Love that. And as you know, Mark, this show is also all about vocal leadership. You have an active presence, especially on LinkedIn. You've been at many event appearances and also on podcast features. How important has visibility and thought leadership been for you, not only now at New, but also in the past?
I think it's more important at New than it has been in the past. I mean, the last company was a automated compliance company, and really, I only really need to be known by, 5 consulting groups like, Deloitte, KPMG. etc. PwC, Ernst and Young, and NetSuite's own Center of Finance Excellence. And that if you knew it were known by those people, you more or less could talk to the entire market because they knew everybody matters. Talk to them. Connor Group as well, right? So this is totally different. In what's going on right now around New is a technology refresh cycle driven by two different things. One is the end of Salesforce CPQ, and where it's no longer available to be bought, and and the second one is this explosive emergence of AI and new consumptive models and new licensing models into the ecosystem. And the reason why it's more important now is that awareness that there is a leading solution that is different than the incumbents is really important because everybody is shopping. Like we can treat the entire market, $1 billion of ARR, as greenfield because nobody has a existing solution um, that works for this use case, right? So so it's been more important now. Um, it's also a lot of fun, but it's more important now because of the awareness demand that's coming from the marketplace.
Great. And what advice would you give to other leaders or CEOs who might still be hesitant to put themselves out there? What benefit have you seen that could help them feel more comfortable being more visible?
I think the first thing is you have to decide what you believe. Like in other words, the things that I'm really clear about what I believe is right and good in tech. I really believe that the values that our company has and we have values that we actually do live every single day. Um, and be really clear about what you believe and what you want to express, right? And second thing is you know, I mean, it's easy for me. Like I'm a former federal court litigator. I can literally stand up and talk about absolutely anything, even if I know nothing about it because that's what I had to do lots of times in court. All of a sudden you find out that you're arguing something you've never seen before. But I think this is the calmest form of public speaking. So I encourage people to do it. Doing it in front of like lots and lots of people, that's totally different. Doing it in front of a person who's guiding you like you are with me, Kimberly, is a very approachable thing. So I encourage people to do it.
Great advice. And to wrap up, Mark, I'd love to hear what keeps you motivated on a personal level. Do you have a favorite hobby? Do you have a favorite practice? What is it that, really keeps you excited and motivated?
Well, I have a really great family, and I am definitely excited and motivated all the time by them. I have way too many pets, so that keeps life interesting. I have a ridiculous number of pets, and and but I think right now. Um, New is my passion. New, the people I get to work with, they're my passion, and like along with my family. I think I say to everybody, I don't expect anybody to have a priority above their family. Their family should be their number one priority. And if you're not doing that, you're doing something seriously, seriously wrong. But beyond that, I don't really. I do lots of things. I kiteboard, I ski, I do all these things, but I do them not because that those are the things that give me joy. This company gives me joy, right? And the people I work with give me joy. And so I I'm very, very busy and I'm enjoying every minute of it.
Very, very inspiring to hear. Well, thank you, Mark, for being with us today. And until next time.
Thank you, Kimberly.